Greetings, dear brothers. Let's study this week's study article together. The question will be analyzed. Can you still learn from basic Bible teachings? Let's start by answering the questions in the paragraphs. Paragraph 1. What does contentment mean, and what does it not mean? Contentment means finding joy and peace by focusing on the blessings we already have instead of being upset about what we lack. A content Christian appreciates what Jehovah has provided and keeps a thankful heart. However, being content does not mean becoming complacent or losing the desire to make progress. As Romans 12:1 encourages, we should keep offering ourselves fully in Jehovah's service. And as 1 Timothy 3:1 shows, it is fine to reach out for privileges. Even so, if those opportunities don't come as quickly as we hoped, we can remain joyful and trust that Jehovah knows what is best for us. Paragraph 2. Why is discontentment so dangerous? Discontentment is dangerous because it can easily lead to serious spiritual and moral consequences. A person who is never satisfied may overwork, neglect spiritual matters, or even resort to dishonest actions to get what they want. Some have convinced themselves that they deserve something, or that they will pay it back later. But such reasoning can lead to stealing, something that dishonors Jehovah, as warned in Proverbs 39. Others have allowed disappointment over not receiving a privilege of service to make them give up altogether, forgetting the counsel in Galatians 6:9, which encourages us not to give up doing what is fine. The real danger is that discontentment erodes gratitude and trust in Jehovah, making it harder to stay faithful and joyful in His service. Paragraph 3. What assuring truth do we learn about at Philippians 4:11-12? The Apostle Paul teaches us that contentment can be learned regardless of our circumstances. While imprisoned, Paul wrote that he had learned to be self-sufficient regardless of his circumstances. Despite being in a difficult situation, he had not lost his joy. His experience assures us that contentment is not something we are born with. It is a quality we can cultivate through effort, prayer, and reliance on Jehovah. Paul's example shows that even in hardship, we can find peace when we focus on Jehovah's support rather than our limitations. Paragraph 4. How does having a grateful spirit help us to be content? Having a grateful spirit helps us be content because it keeps our focus on what Jehovah has already provided. As 1 Thessalonians 5:18 urges, we should give thanks in all circumstances, not just when things go our way. When we sincerely appreciate the necessities of life and the privileges we already enjoy in Jehovah's service, we are less likely to be consumed by what we lack. Gratitude shifts our attention from desire to appreciation, filling our hearts with the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. This peace brings true satisfaction and protects us from feelings of envy or frustration. Paragraph 5. For what reasons should the Israelites have been grateful? The Israelites had many reasons to be grateful. As Numbers 11:4-6 shows, they complained about lacking the food they once had in Egypt, forgetting Jehovah's powerful acts of deliverance. If they had reflected on Jehovah's goodness, they would have remembered that He freed them from harsh slavery by bringing 10 devastating plagues on Egypt, and that they left with silver, gold, and clothing. Jehovah also opened the Red Sea to save them from Pharaoh's army, and later fed them every day with manna in the wilderness. Their real problem was not the lack of food, but a lack of appreciation. Had they focused on these blessings, they would have been content and joyful under Jehovah's care. Paragraph 6. What are some ways that we can cultivate gratitude? We can cultivate gratitude in several practical ways. First, by taking time each day to reflect on Jehovah's goodness and the blessings we enjoy. As Lamentations 3:22-23 reminds us, Jehovah's loyal love and compassion are new every morning, so there's always something to be thankful for. Second, we can express gratitude openly by thanking others for their kindness and regularly thanking Jehovah in prayer, as encouraged at Psalm 75. One, which says, "We give thanks to you, O God. We give thanks, for your name is near." Third, choosing friends who show a thankful attitude helps us maintain that same spirit, since gratitude is contagious. On the other hand, spending time with those who are ungrateful or negative can weaken our own joy, as warned in Deuteronomy 1:26, 28, and 2. Timothy 3, 1, 2, 5. By keeping gratitude at the center of our daily routine, we protect ourselves from discontent and draw closer to Jehovah. Paragraph 7. How did Asi cultivate gratitude, and with what result? Asi cultivated gratitude by deliberately focusing on the blessings she already had instead of comparing herself with others. During the COVID-19 pandemic, she noticed that such comparisons were making her discontent, just as Galatians 6:4 warns us to examine our own actions rather than measure ourselves by others. To change her thinking, she began counting her blessings each day and reflecting on the many good things she had gained from being part of Jehovah's organization. She also made it a habit to express her gratitude directly to Jehovah in prayer. As a result, her attitude transformed. She regained her joy and inner peace and came to feel truly content. Her example shows that when we focus on Jehovah's goodness instead of on what others have, our gratitude deepens and our happiness returns. Paragraph 8. What trap did Baruch fall into? Baruch, Jeremiah's secretary, temporarily fell into the trap of seeking great things for himself instead of focusing on Jehovah's assignment. Serving alongside the prophet in a time of opposition was not easy, and at one point, Baruch began to think more about his own desires than about Jehovah's purpose. Jehovah lovingly corrected him through Jeremiah, saying, "You're seeking great things for yourself. Stop seeking such things." Jeremiah 45:3-5. This counsel reminded Baruch to be content with his circumstances and to focus on what truly mattered, Jehovah's approval. Humbly accepting this correction helped Baruch regain the right perspective and continue faithfully in his service. His example shows how dangerous self-focus can be and how contentment protects our spirituality. Paragraph 9. According to 1 Corinthians 4:6-7, what will humility move us to recognize? Humility will move us to recognize that every privilege and ability we have comes from Jehovah. As the Apostle Paul explained at 1 Corinthians 4:6-7, we have nothing that we did not receive from him. Even if we are talented, hardworking, or experienced, those gifts are not achievements we can boast about. They are expressions of Jehovah's undeserved kindness. Remembering this truth helps us stay content and prevents feelings of jealousy or entitlement. As Romans 12:3-6, and Ephesians 2:8-9 remind us, our service and privileges are possible only because of Jehovah's grace, not our own merit. When we keep this humble view, we maintain peace, gratitude, and unity within the congregation. Paragraph 10. How can we cultivate humility? We cultivate humility by meditating deeply on Jesus' perfect example. On the night before his death, Jesus knew that the Father had given all things into his hands, yet he humbly washed his apostles' feet. John 13:3-5. He could have expected others to serve him, but instead, he served them. During his life on earth, Jesus never sought wealth, comfort, or special treatment. He said, "The Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." Luke 9:58. His actions showed that true greatness comes from serving others, not from seeking position or recognition. When we imitate Jesus' humility, as he commanded at John 13:15, we learn to be content, to value service over status, and to find joy in doing Jehovah's will. Paragraph 11. How has humility helped Dennis to feel content? Humility has helped Dennis stay content by reminding him that all service is about glorifying Jehovah, not ourselves. When feelings of pride or discontent arise, especially if someone else receives a privilege, he takes practical steps to refocus. He studies Bible texts about humility, using the JW Library Registered Trademark app to keep key scriptures tagged and ready for review. He also listens to talks on humility to strengthen his attitude. This regular effort helps him remember that each of us plays only a small part in Jehovah's work, and that every assignment is valuable. As James 4:6-8 reminds us, Jehovah opposes the haughty, but gives undeserved kindness to the humble. And when we draw close to him, he draws close to us. By cultivating humility, Dennis has maintained peace, strengthened his friendship with Jehovah, and found true contentment in his service. Paragraph 12. What hope for the future helps us to be content? The hope Jehovah gives us for the future fills us with peace and helps us remain content today. As described in Isaiah 65:21-25, Jehovah promises a time when his people will live in safe and comfortable homes, enjoy the fruits of their own labor, and eat satisfying food. There will be no fear, no injustice, and no threat to our loved ones. Other scriptures, such as Isaiah 32:17-18, and Ezekiel 34:25, assure us that true peace and security will fill the earth. Meditating on these promises reminds us that any hardships we face now are temporary. Jehovah will soon remove all causes of stress and frustration, giving us a life that is meaningful, secure, and filled with lasting joy. Paragraph 13. In what circumstances might we especially need to focus on our hope? We especially need to focus on our hope during times of hardship or uncertainty. The Bible foretold that in the last days, people would face critical times hard to deal with. 2 Timothy 3:1. When we experience financial strain, illness, or emotional pain, Jehovah sustains us daily by giving us strength and guidance. Psalm 145:14. Our Christian hope reminds us that these struggles are temporary. Jehovah promises to provide abundantly for our needs and to remove suffering forever in his new world. Paragraph 14. How can we strengthen our hope? We can strengthen our hope by deliberately focusing on the future that Jehovah promises rather than being consumed by present concerns. Just as eyeglasses help us see distant things clearly, meditating on the new world helps us view our future with clarity and faith. When we worry about financial pressures, we can picture the time when money, debt, and inequality will no longer exist under Jehovah's kingdom. If we feel anxious about privileges of service we haven't received yet, we can remember that such worries will seem insignificant after thousands of joyful years serving Jehovah in perfection. As 1 Timothy 6:19 reminds us, we are storing up for ourselves a fine foundation for the future. Though it may take effort at first to meditate on spiritual things rather than earthly problems, with practice, it becomes natural. Strengthening our hope through daily meditation gives us balance, peace, and the ability to stay content no matter what challenges we face. Paragraph 15. What do you learn from Krista's comments? Krista's comments teach us that a strong hope can bring peace even in the most painful circumstances. Despite living with a progressive muscle disease that causes her constant pain and limits her mobility, Krista focuses her mind on Jehovah's promises instead of her present suffering. When her doctor gave her a discouraging prognosis, she immediately reminded herself that Jehovah sees the future differently. Her deep faith in the coming new world gives her strength, calm, and purpose. Krista's outlook shows that hope is more than a feeling. It is a powerful anchor that allows us to endure trials with joy and to remain content while waiting for Jehovah to fulfill his promises. Paragraph 16. Why could King David write that those who fear Jehovah lack nothing? King David could write that those who fear Jehovah lack nothing. Psalm 34:9-10, because his trust in Jehovah's care was unshakable, even in times of deep pain. Although David suffered great personal losses, losing several of his children, being betrayed, and living as a fugitive, he knew that Jehovah always provided what was truly needed. David understood that being content doesn't mean living a problem-free life, but having confidence that Jehovah will never abandon his loyal ones. As Psalm 145:16 says, Jehovah opens his hand and satisfies the desire of every living thing. This assurance allowed David to remain at peace and content no matter his circumstances. Likewise, when we fear and trust Jehovah, we can be certain that he will sustain us through every trial and give us the strength and spiritual support we need. Paragraph 17. Why are you determined to learn the secret of contentment? I am determined to learn the secret of contentment because Jehovah wants his servants to live with peace and satisfaction, not constant worry or comparison. As Psalm 131:1-2 shows, David humbly calmed his heart like a child resting in his mother's arms, fully trusting Jehovah's care. To develop that same peace, I want to keep cultivating gratitude, humility, and a strong hope. When I focus on these qualities, I can say with conviction, like the psalmist in Psalm 16:5-6, that Jehovah is my portion and my inheritance, and therefore I truly have all I need. Learning this secret allows me to serve Jehovah joyfully, stay balanced through trials, and appreciate the blessings he provides each day. Now we move on to the review questions. How do the following help you to be content? Cultivating gratitude. Gratitude helps us stay content by shifting our focus from what we lack to what Jehovah has already given us. When we thank Jehovah for his daily blessings, as 1 Thessalonians 5:18 encourages, we feel peace instead of frustration. Regularly expressing thanks in prayer and appreciating even small kindnesses strengthens our joy and protects us from envy or greed. How do the following help you to be content? Remaining focused and humble. Staying focused and humble helps us remember that every ability, privilege, and blessing comes from Jehovah. As 1 Corinthians 4:7 reminds us, what do you have that you did not receive? When we focus on serving Jehovah rather than seeking recognition, we find satisfaction in our role and avoid feelings of competition. Humility keeps us peaceful, grateful, and happy with whatever assignment Jehovah gives us. How do the following help you to be content? Meditating on your hope. Meditating on our hope strengthens contentment by reminding us that today's struggles are temporary. Reflecting on Jehovah's promises in Isaiah 65:21-25 and Revelation 21:3-4 helps us look beyond present problems to the joyful life ahead in paradise. This clear vision of the future reduces anxiety, fills us with peace, and keeps us patient as we wait for Jehovah's perfect world.